Hi, this is Kim Pinkney and welcome to my channel. Alrighty, so today I'm going to be doing some coloring on this Cricut Infusible ink t-shirt, and I'm going to be using fabric markers. Now the list of what I'm using is in the description, so you guys can check that out. All these markers, they're not that expensive. Let's see, and I'll run through all the stuff that I'm going to be using to do these things. Okay, so I have my t-shirt where I had tested out the various types of paper that could transfer over into onto the shirt. I've got the premium laser paper, I've got the Bristol, and you see that they're all like, you know, you wouldn't be able to, you know, kind of stomach it. You know, the shirts they vary in price from $9, you know, from $4 on sale to like 10, you know, online. They can get pretty pricey. So you don't want to make mistakes, and if you do, you want to be able to fix them if you can. This is Bristol paper that I had transferred it over with. This is mixed media paper, and if you're satisfied with, you know, what you see, you know, cool, but me, not so much. So I'm going to be using my fabric markers to go ahead and fix and show you how I would use these to color. This one here is cardstock, and I've already used a little bit of colored fabric markers on here, and this is a good way to test to see how these things would stand up in you know, real world scenario where you might suck at doing these sort of things, maybe be just a newbie at it. This one I did yesterday, and this is the one we're going to touch up and we're going to color. My whole thing was getting my drawings transferred onto my shirts, whether I use it using the Cricut Infusible ink pens, whether just using their outline or actually trying to get a base going on here. So whatever I put on here is permanent. Nothing's going to wash out. So even if the markers fade over time, the stuff underneath is going to still be there. So again, just checking out some of the pictures that I've got here, and I've already put a little bit of ink or the markers onto some of these things, and I'll show you, you know, going forward what these guys do. If you're going to use fabric markers, you're going to want to know what each of them can do for you, especially if you need to blend and get different skin tones and colors. You're going to want to know what your colors can do. So I urge you to create, you know, take a sacrificial shirt, kind of like what I've got here, and just go ahead and test out your markers. An example of that is, this isn't backwards, but well, this is backwards on here because I wrote them going forwards, but if I stand in front of a mirror, I can read them perfect. But I just pretty much put like a little swatch of what each of them can do. But this is a good start, but it's not the best start. I've got another video where I show you how I make my color key, and I've mapped out all the colors. A lot of these markers don't have names, especially the Marvy Uchida markers. This is like a Graffiti Fabric marker, and there's no name on it. I hate the chisel tip, but you know, it is what it is. Buyer beware. But yeah, and this set that I had bought with the chisel tip was, you know, iffy because some of them were dried out. There were a lot of these on a shelf in, where was I, in Texas, and I had no idea, you know, they don't have like, you know, expiration dates on these things, so you don't know if you're getting a good set of markers or a bad set of markers. So this is the very first ever set that I ever bought that when I opened it up, some of them were dried out. It pissed me off. These things are these are, if you get these with if you go to Walmart, not Walmart, I'm so sorry. If you go to Michael's and you use a coupon, it knocks it down to about maybe $29, but on the regular I think it's like in the 30s. That's that one. Arteza is about, they don't sell these anymore on their site that I noticed. They sell, let's see if I've got one of the new ones. Let's see. This one was about $29, and you get a set of maybe, I think it was 30. Let's see. Yeah, their new markers, they're okay, but they're not these markers. These markers like this are pretty awesome. They come out very juicy. They blend well. Let's see. I don't see one of the new ones right off the bat, but if I come across it, I'll go ahead and show it to you. What they're selling on their site now. Let's see. Here's, no, this is a tulip fine marker. I thought I had one in here. I'm not like happy that they had switched over. If I could, I'd buy these again. It does have its downsides, and I'm using these on a video where I'm testing it out. Okay, I don't see it. I thought I had one in here, but it's not in here. Okay, no worries. But they look almost like the tulip fabric markers. These guys right here. These last a good long time, I think. But again, you're going to want to test them out on a shirt to see how they look like when they dry. Not necessarily how they look like when they're wet, but how they look like after they dry. That's the most important part. So anyway, one of the things I liked about the Arteza is that it's got a bullet tip here. I don't care about the chisel tip, but sometimes the sides are different colors. I mean, they're both supposed to be a coffee, but when you use either side, one may be darker than the other. So maybe that's why they stopped using them or selling them. So tulip has a large size, and I believe it's a bigger bullet tip, so you can get bigger areas. Tulip works really well, but the ones on the site, they're kind of like this, but I think they're double-sided. I can't remember. Anyway, I bought a set of those, but they're thin. So you wanna make yourself a little key, basically on a shirt of the fabric that you're gonna kind of be using. This one, I learned some interesting things. It's really soft. It's very soft fabric, but it bleeds like a bad dog. So you have to be very sparingly with your how you apply them. Now, one of the biggest things that I've seen is that people have they don't like doing the fabric markers because they have a hard time securing the fabric. So what I used, and I went through the same thing, t-shirts have a texture. I'll bring it up so you can kind of see the texture. It's like a ribbed texture. It's not like paper where it's flat and smooth and things go across it very well. I don't know if you guys can see the texture. I'll just let it sit there so it'll focus. But yeah, big frustration. And then if you have a big shirt, it's just all over the place. So what I'm using is an embroidery hoop, which is made to keep fabric in place. And these are like about $2 or $3 at Walmart. Or if you go to like another store like Michael's, you can pick some up too. Different sizes. I've got about 4 different sizes of hoops depending on how I'm doing my shirts. And I've got a lot of t-shirt videos, so you'll be able to see me using a lot of these. But this right here is like an average size. I think it's like 12 inches, maybe either 8 inches or 12 inches, I can't remember. But this is my favorite because it's got this lip on the side. I don't know if you guys can see it. And it really is really good. It's better than the wood ones that don't have it, because those kind of slip and then you have to use like a binder clip. So I'm going to show you how I use this. You have the lip side up, and this is the part that's going to go under your shirt where your artwork is. So I'm going to slip it under. And then I'm going to kind of pull the shirt, trying to gather it underneath here, just kind of gathering it like this. And then I'm going to open up the hoop area here that's going to go over it. It goes under the lip. Just kind of slip it under here. I'm going to let go of the bottom here so I can get a good grip. And it just fits over like that, and you just kind of tighten this down. Now if you don't have an image already done on here like I have, you don't want to pull it too tight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the shirt until it's like I can't push down too much. Let me tighten it up a little bit more. And what it's doing is basically stretching out the shirt. So if you need to put an image on, you don't want it stretched completely out. You know, you don't want it super tight, because if you do, your stuff will be distorted. You can tell that this picture's just been distorted from being pulled, but this doesn't matter, because the picture's already there, and when it comes back together, all the colors will be where they need to be. So now my fabric's not going to slide around on me. I also recommend using a board, a chipboard, underneath to protect everything underneath and also give you some stability. This shirt is so smooth and soft that I really don't need this, but I put it under so I can protect the back of the shirt. Now if I was painting the shirt with fabric paint, I don't usually use the embroidery hoop. I use a box. I take any box that's about the size of where my image is going to be, and I fit the shirt over the box so that wherever I'm working is going to be here, and my paint will be in this area. Everything on the sides is going to be protected, and I can use binder clips to make it taut, make it tight. So you can take any box, cut out the facing part, but leave, you know, the other sides here, and it'll dry faster. You'll have less mess, and you won't have that problem where the paint will seep from the shirt onto whatever you have on the back. I've seen a lot of people do that, and I'm like, you have no idea how awful that is. I see people using an easel, like a painting easel, to paint on, but it's like you've got to be extremely careful, or else the paint from the shirt seeps down to whatever you have behind it and then comes back up. It makes a big ass mess. So, and also it'll dry faster. So if you put it under a fan, all the air will kind of hit the shirt, circulate under here, and just kind of dry it a lot faster than if you had it up against something. Okay, enough of that. Also, I recommend having a fabric paint, a white fabric paint, so if you make a mistake, you can kind of fix it, or you can mix your colors together to get a lighter tone. So I urge you to have like a white fabric paint as well. Never, ever, 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 to the nth degree, use a Sharpie marker, or the other versions of Sharpie. They say they're permanent, but I've used them and I've ruined so many shirts. never, never, never just use a Sharpie. If you're going to use Sharpie, use the stained by Sharpie. Never, ever, ever use this. Don't use the set that has all the massive colors. It will wash out. It says, I've seen a video where they say stick it in a dryer, heat set it. It doesn't work. It will wash out. So never, 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 never use Sharpie. I don't care, just don't use it. Use what is a fabric marker. I guarantee you'll have better results than using that. Now, stained by Sharpie, great product. You can kind of see the ink inside. The only thing is that their color choices are limited. That's why I've got like different colors and different brands. Graffiti Fabric marker, which is basically the same as this, only this is a chisel tip. I have the tulip fabric marker. This one I got from Colortime. You can go to www.colortime.com and order this. They also sell them at Marker Supply. They all look the same. They just have a different name. And it has like a little bullet tip. This one has lasted me for a long time. They have different colors of these. These all blend. The only downside about this is that, you know, there's colors here that, like, Sharpie has like a green, but it's a neon green. It has a yellow, but it's like a neon yellow. So again, make a color chart and then play with them. See if you can get them to blend together to get you other colors. That's how you can kind of get them to extend. But yeah, over time I've bought all these, and I don't think I've spent over $30 for a set, and they last a good long time. Except for the stained by Sharpie. I had done a massive shirt that was like if you're working on a big area, you may want to use paint instead of a fabric marker, because you'll be working, like say I was doing what was his name, Yu-Gi-Oh! I was doing a big picture of Yu-Gi-Oh! From the top of the shirt to the bottom of the shirt, and he's wearing blue, and I ran out. I had to buy like 4 or 5 sets of stained by Sharpie blue to finish just one side, and it was going to be a double-sided shirt where you can see the front of Yugi and the back of Yugi, so you can see he's holding some cards, and then when you look at the back, you can see what cards he's holding. That shirt I couldn't finish because I didn't have enough of these. So if you're working on a massive area, I urge you to use fabric paint. I don't recommend fabric paint on thin shirts like this because they're kind of heavy. I recommend using paints on things like jackets. You know, if you don't mind the weight of it, then, you know, cool. But fabric paints usually for something like bags or something like that. Or if you don't mind, you know, the weight, if you've got a nice heavyweight shirt. Okay, so first color I want to try to use, since I've got a lot of black here, and because this shirt bleeds like nobody's business, I'm going to try to keep the board away from the back of this. I only have the board, so it just kind of protects what's down here. Okay, that's all what the board is for. The shirt is already tight enough so that I've got enough give to use my markers. Okay, so I've got these colors. And I'm going to I want to lighten her up a bit. So I'm going to use a little bit of these 2 colors, maybe some blue, and just try to bring out a little bit of the light. So I'm going to do a little bit of this. I'm just going to use the side of it. Now with this shirt, you don't want to be all the way on the edge because it's harder. Unless you're going to give yourself a background, kind of stay away from the edge. because it'll bleed if you oversaturate. So on this, a little is going to go a long way. Some of the caps don't sit well on the marker, so it's just kind of best to have them off to the side. And you can use like circular motions, and I like usually saturating a shirt because you can get some really good blending. You just kind of go over while it's wet. And usually when you are using the hoop, you've got a little bit of the lip on the inside of the shirt before you have the opening. You might want to position it so that your artwork is not on the very edge, because you know you can always reposition. Now a lot of my bleeding came from because the board was like touching. Now the best fabric marker coloring is when you're really solid and you get right on in there so that you don't see the white of the fabric anymore. Now you can blend by lightly invading the space of another color and then taking that color again and going over the top of that. And if you want to get more of a transition, I would use blenders or a dried up marker like this. Stain by Sharpie has a really good tip. It's got the best tip of all the markers for blending, next to the Zig markers. Zig has a brush tip, so just like the Stain by Sharpie, once this is dried out, hold on to it. If you can clean it up, I tried to clean it up with alcohol. It still kept coming out. It took a while for the color to go away. I mean, it's like I had to have it soak for days in order to get the color to go away. So you can take a dried up Stain by Sharpie or a dried up Zig, anything with like a tip like that, and you can get that transition. Now in order to kind of get the most out of your base, like I had transferred this with the Cricut Infusible ink markers. In order to get gradients and things like that on here, I didn't do it well, but I used parchment paper. All the other papers will rip up or not give you that same movement of tone. Now, in order to get that movement of tone, you have a couple choices. You could either use a complementary color, which is the opposite side on the color wheel. Instead of using black, it just gives you, you have an alternative. Or you could use black. And I'll use a little black. I'm gonna, oops. Black or brown is good. I'm gonna try brown. Okay. I'm gonna use the chisel too because I hate the chisel. Okay. I'm gonna use a little bit of the brown. The brown in the Arteza is, you see how it just like came out really thick. The brown in the Arteza is pretty brown. Pretty brown, pretty dark. So if you ever have the problem that your colors are not quite the colors that you wanted, like say I want to use brown, but it's too brown, it's too dark, you can mix it with white and get a lighter brown. and I'll show you if I get to that point how to do that. Or you can try to mix your tones with on the skin. So right now it's really saturated, so I'm going to hit it with a heat gun. And I apologize for the noise. I'm going to see if I can mute the sound. I don't know if I can, but I'll try before I use it because it's really super loud. Oh, also with the heat gun, you only want to hit it for a heartbeat because it sometimes will burn itself out and it'll need to cool before it'll work again. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry, see how it looks. I'm gonna use, oh, I didn't grab it. Alrighty. Now all reds aren't created equal, so it's good to have a variety. Let me try this over here. Now this is the Arteza. I'm going to let this dry a little bit and then I'll come back to it and maybe add another tone, maybe a blue to overlap. And again, the board is down beneath, so we should have less feathering, less bleeding. And I've only seen that happen really when it's totally oversaturated, or like on this shirt. Usually you can go a lot further before it gets like crazy oversaturated on a cotton shirt. Let me make sure I'm in the screen here. So now what I mean by using a complementary color, see, I'm just making sure that this red is super red and it's really got into the fabric there. And I'm going to use a little bit of this lighter red. Just kind of overlap. You can use a green or you can use a brown, and that'll give you that darker red as well. Let's see, I'm going to use the green on this side and then the brown on this side, and you can see the difference. It's an alternative to using black. And then you go over it with the red again. Not a big fan of chisel tips, but it is what it is. And then just kind of overlap it a little bit, so it kind of gives it like a gradient. And if I wanted to make it look like it's shiny, I can either take a yellow or a white after it's dried and then see if I can layer it that way. Okay, so now I'm going to use black on this side, or rather the brown. Use the chisel tip. Now it's good to have your source image nearby too if you have it. I do not have mine with me. Because when I transferred this shirt over, something kept this art from really getting enough of the heat to transfer over. So that was the dark brown. And then I can just go over it with the red. So you have alternatives. I'm going to hit it with the heat gun because it looks like it's going to bleed. Okay. Now one thing I also wanted to try was I wanted to see what oh, and it's got the fumes. Now I'm wondering if that's partly because of the because it's a heat activated type of fabric. I'm wondering if that's part of it too. Yeah, it's usually you don't get fumes or the heat coming off like that with a regular cotton shirt. I'm just going to fill in some of the areas here. Now on a shirt you can layer your colors. Usually. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up closer so you can kind of see the richness of the tones. This is the brown, the deep dark brown, and this is the complementary green. So when red is touching green, you get like a darker tone. And I'm going to kind of throw a little bit of purple here, maybe a little bit over the top. And I like the effect of the brown on this side, so I'm going to add a little bit more and add a little bit more purple, just to kind of be consistent with the brim here, or the little rim here. And I'm going to add a little bit more purple. And you can kind of, since there's no board underneath, you can kind of dig in there too. And you can see that the colors are a little bit different, so it looks like this is a little bit lighter. And just for giggles, I'm going to take a little bit of this and just kind of touch it, so you have a little bit of tone on the other side too. And let's see, I don't think this is the blender. One of these is a fabric, one of these is a blender and the other one is a skin color. So another thing I would do is I would take the skin color one and mix that with colors as well. So now all I'm doing is moving some of the saturated dark tone that I added closer to the light, just to kind of make it a little bit richer here in the light too. Okay. And if you don't get the transitions that you want, let it dry a little bit so it doesn't get too oversaturated. And then just kind of use your other tones again. So I want to use probably another purple. Use the purple probably like right here. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry, do its thing. I want to do something to the frog, but I think I want to wait until I'm done with the hat, in case I need to go over. So I'm going to take a little bit of this purple, a little bit of the brown. Now you can leave the cap off while you're working, but that also runs you the risk of it rolling. This one doesn't roll because it's square. Rolling and touching your shirt, touching something that you don't want it to touch. So it's not a bad practice to put the cap back on. Because again, these are permanent markers. My hand's not steady. See, I'm going to move this one. Okay. Now you'll be able to get a lot of coverage. His hand was here somewhere. Oh well. It's here no longer, but it is on this side. I can see it pretty well. So I'm going to let that dry. Let's see, we'll use a little bit of the pink here, just for a little bit of light. Now you can transfer virtually anything onto a shirt. When I was experimenting with the Crayola fabric markers, I had taken a Crayola Art with Edge shirt and traced it underneath the underneath here, because a lot of shirts are transparent when you have a light underneath it. So that's a thing to keep in mind if you have a favorite image that you kind of like to have onto your shirt. So you can use like either a light box. I'm just going to have the frog kind of peep out right here, and I'm going to change his pose a bit. Use one of my markers. Now if you need to outline and you're on a budget and you can't find some really good ones, this one right here is a good marker to use. I can't speak for like the Sakura what is it called? Microns and stuff like that. I don't know. These last me forever as far as outlining. So I recommend, these are like $10 for 4 at Walmart, and you get different sizes. You get a chisel tip, a brush tip, and they come in different sizes. Let's see, this one here is a 0.05, and it's pretty small. And then there's one that's even a little bit smaller, but it catches on the fabric. This one is not too bad. This is the 0.05, and I'll show you what it can do for me. Now, usually at this stage, you know, everything's dry, and you can put the board underneath. Now, with the board underneath, I'm going to throw the board under here for a second to give me stability, and I can get a nice black outline. I'll bring it even closer so you can see it. And you want to get all in that white. And so, like, I can define anything that looks a little fuzzy. But usually I use that step at the end when I'm pretty much satisfied with what I've got. Because sometimes if you outline too soon, you're going to end up outlining again. Okay, so I have to bring the board down because even the board is making the outline fuzzy. It's like it's the fabric. It's super smooth. I don't know what it is about this fabric, but it is prone to bleeding when there's something underneath it. So you don't want to oversaturate. Get your line down and run. I'm going to put the frog's arm like this. Maybe I'll do this with his fingers. Let's bring it in a little bit and just get a little here. Yeah, see, it's already trying to bleed right there. I think what I'll do is hit it with another blast of heat just to kind of hurry the process along. But the red is super vibrant here. Looks good. I think it's the shirt. Just seems to make it a lot more vibrant. I'm going to let that dry a little bit more and then maybe add a little bit more pink, maybe a little bit of a lighter purple instead of the purple I've got. See, I'm going to put a little bit over the stuff that bled. Now, if things bleed on you to the point where it's just ridiculous, you can use the white paint, or you're going to have to improvise, maybe do something around the outside. There's more than one way of skinning a cat. Alright, also, these guys come in another set of colors, so I think there's like a rainbow version of these guys. You can get it in red and stuff, so like if you're doing Disney and you're doing like a red outline, you can do that. Let's see. I want to wait for these areas to kind of dry a bit before I start adding more color there. Now you do want to work from light to dark, if you can. I'm going to go ahead and add this green, and I usually use 3 colors. This is a darker. I thought this would be a lighter green. No worries. Aha! Okay, now remember those Artezas I was talking about? This is what they sell on their site now. It's not bad, but it's not like the other ones. You've got like a really super thin tip here. Have a hand here so you can see the tip on one end, and more like a bullet tip on the other. And I don't think it's labeled with the color name. Nope, this one's not labeled, so it's going to be a hit or miss type of thing. Okay, so board is down here, away from the fabric, and I'm just going into the saturated green part and just kind of working my way back to the light. Or you can go from light to the dark. I'm going to do the light part first. Now you can leave areas of white open. Your shirt is white, so that's one less white that you have to work with. So you can use that as like a highlight. Let's see, I'm going to use this. And I'm going to use this underneath. It's already bleeding because it's wet. Let me hit this with my feet. Slow it down. Okay, hopefully that'll slow down the bleeding. Or increase it. Yeah, so if the markers come out a little too fast for you, you can always get a piece of plastic, something that you can use. Let me see if I can find something that we can use. I'm going to move this board away from the edges here. Let's see. I don't have my fabric nearby, or my plastic nearby. Let's see. Let's see. You can use here we go. Something like this. This is like just a plastic sleeve. And let's see. Do I have a paintbrush? Let's see. Aha. Okay, so for those times when your colors are just coming out way too fast, and say I want to hit this area right here, it's small, but I don't want too much to come out too fast. And her eyes are a little bit lighter, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of mix some tones together on the plastic sleeve and kind of get the brown that I need. And then you can just kind of apply it to where you want it. That's one way of doing it. Like so, this frog here, and you got to be careful with your plastic. You don't want it to get in a place where it might bleed. Okay, so for the frog here, let's see, I'll just kind of stay together with this area. This is coming out really super wet. I'm going to use a little bit of yellow. So instead of like putting it directly onto the fabric, you can mix your colors you can also mix it on the fabric itself. So now I've got like a lighter green and I got a darker green, and it's all about control to get what you want. And you can do that with whenever you're coloring with you know, on paper and things like that, especially like with Crayolas, if it's coming out like way too fast, you just kind of slow it down. Let's see, we'll throw I don't know, let's see, we'll do it over on this side. Maybe using a stiffer brush. Yeah, this brush is more for like fine areas. Let's see, can we use brown? Oops. Since I don't use the chisel tip very often, that's going to be my wettest bet here. And I can just kind of get inside the eyes. But you kind of get what I'm talking about here. You can smell what the rock is cooking here. I'm going to go get a little bit of water. I should have had that nearby too. But you have alternatives to slow down the fabric marker. Okay, give me one quick second. I'm going to grab some water. As everything falls down around me. Okay, so keep in mind, if you need a lighter tone, water, because over time, water will wash out of the shirt. It's like it's breaking down the whatever formula it is that's in the shirt. So if you need to get a lighter tone, definitely use white or a lighter tone of fabric marker mixed with another color of fabric marker. You don't want to dilute it with water at all. Let's see. Now in the picture that I had, her hair was outlined with red. So I'm going to outline with red. No, I'm not. I'm going to do that at the end. Let's see. We'll work on the frog a little bit more. I'm going to use, let's use yellow to kind of define his eyes here. Now, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, either in the comments or, you know, wherever. And I read all my comments. But yeah, usually I use 3 colors whenever I draw anything. Usually a bright tone, a mid-tone, and like a highlight or a shadow. Use a little bit of this. Just be careful that it doesn't bleed into another area. Use a little bit of the dark tone here. Yeah, this one's really juicy because I haven't used green in a while. And because it's wet, it's wants to move. Yeah, so if you decide to color on an infusible shirt, keep in mind that this bad boy bleeds a lot. It's not so bad on a regular cotton shirt, but the plus side is that everything looks a little bit more vibrant. And it's a very soft shirt. And that could be a contributing factor too. So I'm going to hit it with some heat to cool it down. Sorry about the noise, you guys. Let me see if I can mute it for a second and remember to turn the... All right, so I'm gonna let that do its thing. I'm gonna come back to her. Let's see, we'll do her hair, but I'll have to reposition. Let's do her skin instead. Okay, so I've got several colors, and I think what I'd like to do is test some of them out to see if I can get the right skin tone on this. So what way of doing it? Let me see. I can do 2 colors. I'm going to put it off to the side, maybe like up here or something, or I don't know. Let's see. Or we could just try to test it. So let's see. We'll use underneath her chin. That's not a bad brown. But we see how dark it is. Another thing to watch out for is sometimes you'll get like little fragments from your shirt. You want to get rid of those if you can. They sometimes have a tendency of showing up and leaving a mark. Okay, so that's not a bad brown. I'm gonna hit it with some heat so it'll slow down. Okay, let's see. Is that the brown I'm looking for? Not quite. Let's try a different color brown. Let's see. Yeah, these browns are a little dark for what I want. It might be good for her hair. Let me see. Now I have a tan looking color somewhere around here. Yeah, as much as I like some markers, I usually give them a lower grade if they don't have a brown in their arsenal. Let's see. Okay, so apricot might be a nice color. I don't know if it's dried out. Chocolate might be too dark. Okay, and if you can find fabric marker, I'm sorry, if you can find fabric paint brushes, get them. They have a very stiff brush that can really just dig in to a t-shirt. Let's see. Okay, so let's see what our browns can do. I'm going to use a little bit in her ear just to kind of give me an idea. That's a good brown. See what it looks like when it's mixed with this one. This could be a nice light tone. Okay. All right. So if you ever have a hard time trying to figure out how you want to color something, it doesn't hurt to have a source image of what you like. You know, it's like, ooh, I like it like that. So I'm going to use this very lightly. I'm using like the edge of the marker. And I'm going to kind of let whatever's here be like a highlight. Again, that comes out kind of juicy. I think instead of going crazy, I think I'll use the brush here. Let's see if I can get it to move a little bit for me. So let's see. This might be a little too dark. Let's try this brown. and then we'll just kind of brush it upwards. And if you don't have a blender, but you have a stiff brush like the one I had shown you, you can also use this one. So like get the area nice and saturated, kind of, let me see, like, and then hit it with the brush. It's dry, it'll work it in, and you might even you might be able to move it. Use this too. Let's see, I like the apricot. Let me see if that'll work for us. Put the lid back on. Put a lighter skin tone on here and then work to the dark. So I'm going into what I've already got here and just kind of working it in. So sometimes when I do this, sometimes I start off with a yellow and then go over it with the other darker color. Let's see, let's try this one. Actually, let's try this one. This one has more of a reddish to it, reddish tone to it. But again, I urge you to try it out outside your image to see if you can get that combination that you really, really want. And because it's still wet, I'm going to see if I can get it to move into different other places. And again, if you can't control it, you can always, like say you make a big, stupid big mistake, you can always paint over it with white. It may give you a little bit of a raised feel to it, but you can paint over it with white and try again. All is not lost. I'm using a little bit of the t-shirt itself to be a bit of a highlight. Oops. With that flush tone. Oh, there it is. It fell down. Okay. Now this one here is more of an, it's supposed to be like a peach tone, and it definitely needs to be heat activated or heat set. but it's pretty good with filling in some of the blanks. Okay, so let's get a little bit of a lighter brown. And with these, with a brush tip, you can also dab onto here as well. So like, let's see, what would be a good color? Like I don't want it to bleed, so I'm making sure it's not touching. Let's see, I want to use like a reddish tone, but I don't want to like overwhelm it. So I'm going to put like a little bit of red there. Use a little bit here, and then just kind of work it into my shadow and then outward, just to kind of give her like reddish cheeks. And I can do that with the stiff paint brush as well, and just let that kind of work it into as well. So you kind of get that effect. Now she looks a little orange, so I'm going to probably make her a little bit more brown. So I'm going to go into the shadows first. And then I'm going to work it in. Now this brush I found at Walmart. It's a fabric painting brush. Bring it in here. Just trying to get rid of a little bit of that orange look. Yeah, you get the movement of tone when it's saturated and it's wet. Right now it looks like it's drying. There's a little bit of this red here. This is tomato red. Use a little bit on her cheek. If you don't have a heat gun, you don't want to oversaturate. Let's put a little bit more here. And at this point, make sure you do not have anything beneath it touching, because I know this is nice and wet, and it will bleed onto some other area. Just kind of working it into the brown. Let's see, I'm going to use a little bit more. This is the apricot that I think is doing that, so let's throw a little bit more of this red here. Yeah, so know what your markers are capable of. Okay, so I'll let this dry, and we'll work on her hair up to this point. Let's go ahead and give her a little bit of brown in her eyes. Now the tulips, I don't think come out as fast as the other colors do. I think it's a little bit more forgiving depending on what you're trying to do. So I get a little bit of brown there, and then maybe give her a little bit of yellow in her eye. Make it kind of look like it's a little bit lighter than it actually is. And let's see, I think I'm going to hit it with the heat just to be on the safe side. Sorry about that. I'm going around the outside like a Disney cartoon character. I might not need to hit it with brown because it's already still has that, as it's getting darker, it's starting to turn like a little bit of a shade of brown. So give me one quick second. Angle this down a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to turn off this sound for a second. Okay, I don't usually apply heat to my images like this, but because this is one of those type of fabrics that like to bleed. I'm just trying to stop it in its tracks. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, do I need to outline her lips? I'm looking at like a little source image of her. Nah, not really. Let's see. I might want to go a little bit browner on her eye, just a little. So you can kind of see the difference between leaving it with the what is it called, with the infusible ink marker versus, you know, just kind of touching it up with some fabric marker. Around the outside of her hair, it's black, so I'm going to go ahead and hit it with brown, and in the shadows it's black. Okay, so let's see. I think this is a darker black. Actually, it looks a little purplish. Huh. Okay. Maybe we'll do a little bit of purple too. Okay, so this brown is coffee in the Arteza. Okay, we're almost done. So every place where it's like darkest, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the dark brown here. For this skull, I can always come back with fabric paint, and maybe we'll do that last as a touch-up. So all is not lost. And she has, in this makeup thing here, she's got like pink here. I'm just going to go ahead and hit this right here with pink. And we'll add maybe a little pink down here too. I'm going to let that dry and then maybe hit it with a different pink. Let's see. Now brown. Let's go ahead and hit this with the brown. And then we'll probably, around the edges, hit it with a little bit of purple. And I'm going into the black, or the brown rather, that's already here, the deep dark brown. So yeah, what I recommend is, if you can, get like 2 or 3 sets of fabric markers. That way, because not all fabric markers are created equal, either. A brown in one set might be the tan that you need in it from another set. Fabric paints are pretty good. If you can put them on lightly, you could use them on a shirt. Let's see. Or if you don't mind the way it feels. If you try to use acrylic, and I do not ever recommend using acrylic, I don't care if it's got a fabric medium in it. if you want to wear a painting, like a hardcore painting on your chest, go for it. But keep in mind, paintings flake. They're stiff. Not cool. So if you do want to paint, get fabric paints. Nobody's paying me for this, but if you want to save your artwork that you spent hours on, get the frickin' fabric paint. It's not that expensive. You can get it from Walmart, and they got a good variety. If you absolutely have to use acrylic paint, like say you want to use one of those color change, color shifting types, yeah, mix that with the fabric medium. I made the mistake of using an acrylic white paint for a base on a dark colored hoodie, and I also ended up using fabric white paint on a dark colored hoodie. In the areas that had the acrylic, it flaked off. It broke my heart, yo. You want to see a grown woman cry? I spent hours on that shirt, and it was a big area. Like I had done a hoodie with this character on it. All this was white acrylic on that hoodie. All of it flaked. Broke my freaking heart. So never, ever, ever, if you can help it, use acrylic paint. It's shit. Especially if you get the acrylic paint from Walmart, because, you know, this is the art supplies you can afford type of thing. You know, it'll break your heart, I guarantee you. If it doesn't do it immediately, it'll do it later on after it's been washed. It's just, it's stiff and it flakes. Acrylic is not meant to be worn. It just isn't. If you try to use like the fabric marker, not fabric markers, I'm sorry. What are those markers called? They're a permanent marker that you can like use on glass and things like that. It usually has like a gold and a silver on there. Initially, it'll go onto your fabric with that color, but over time, and not that long, it will tarnish. Okay, I'm gonna work on the frog a bit. I don't like this color here. I wish it was like a little bit lighter, and that's probably where white paint would come in. White paint and a pink. Okay, I've got my board like right up underneath this, so I might have some bleeding here because I'm using it on the frog area. Yeah, you'll see videos where people have used the acrylic paint, but you don't see what the shirt looks like 5 years later. Or even like a year later. Okay, I'm going to hit this with some heat so that this marker doesn't go anywhere. I mean, it's nothing like wearing your design and then someone going, oh my God, where can I get one of those? Or you make it for your kid and they're out and about and they're going, oh my God, I want that shirt. My mommy made it. There have been times when I had made a shirt and only like it with multiple faces on it, and like only like maybe two or three of the faces turned out really super well, and the others kind of like came out booty. It's like, but this, with the transferring the image already onto it, you already know that it's going to be, you know, what you want it to look like. When you draw it onto the shirt, you know, it's kind of hit or miss. Okay, hold on for a second. I'm going to hit this with some heat. I like how this red looks. That red looks badass. Okay, let's see. I think I want to try to put a little bit more red on the lips so I can kind of get this effect too. Let's see. Let's use Arteza. Arteza's the bottom. Yeah, Arteza, as far as like how bright it is, and I love it. But I wish I could get to in this, and I wish I could get like a shit ton more colors, especially in brown. I'm gonna hit it with heat again so it doesn't bleed on me. Oh, and for the person who gave me a like, thank you. That's very nice of you. Very kind, very kind. Okay, I'm going to throw her eyebrow back on here. And I swear, this is super addicting. Drawing on fabric is super addicting, especially if it comes out perfect. Let me switch to tip. I've used this tip so much that it may be dried out. I don't know if the reservoir for both of these are the same, if they're sharing the same one. Because like I said, sometimes this one dries out, and then this one's or is a different color than the other. I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit more brown to it. Oh, sorry, I meant to turn off the sound. Okay, let's see. So we'll probably just stick in this area. Nah, I guess we could go a little further. Okay. Okay. Now I said I was going to use white paint. Okay, white paint sometimes has a tendency of drying out. Let's see. But again, get your paints in like this stuff right here. This is apple barrel, and this is an acrylic paint, the shit will flake. This stuff is good. This is a tulip fabric paint right here. It doesn't have a lot in here, but sometimes a little goes a long way. But yeah, also be sure to read the directions on the fabric paint. Some of them have to be heat set, like this one right here. This brand needs to be heat set. Some don't. This right here is also an acrylic paint. These are hit or miss sometimes. Sometimes they'll wash out. You can mix it with Mod Podge. That might make it last a little longer. You can mix it with fabric paint. That might make it last a little longer. Mod Podge, or you could try to mix it with a fabric medium, and that might make it stay onto fabric. So all's not lost if all you have is acrylic and you're too cheap to go out and get fabric paint. And fabric paint's not that much more expensive, I guarantee you. Well, okay, I can't, because some of these acrylic paints are like $1. Now, if you use puffy paints, I don't like puffiness, so I end up knocking it down, you know, like just using it like a regular paint. Things like this, Elmer's glue and stuff, sometimes I mix that with Mod Podge to make it last, or mix it with a fabric paint. Oops. So I'm going to use a little bit of this white paint in that skull. Hopefully this isn't glow in the dark. Okay. And I'll just take a little bit here. Now you can apply it either with a paintbrush, or if you've got a brush tip like this, you can also apply it with that too. So I'm just going to just gently apply it here. And then we'll want it to dry. Let's see, and that'll be just like any place where, like here on this bone. Hopefully it isn't reactivating with what's already on here, so that maybe that color is already dry. Hopefully. I'm going to use this paintbrush a little bit just to spread it around. Now with heat, your paint might bubble. That's one of the problems I had on the with the acrylic, is that it started to bubble. It just isn't for that amount of heat. Let's see, and I'm going to put a little bit of eye shine in here. Just take a little bit. So you can have it, you can put it under a fan and have it dry. See, I don't want it to be puffy, so I'm going to knock it down a bit. And see, I don't know if Tiana has 2 eye shines, so just for giggles, we'll toss another one on here. And we'll toss a little bit onto her lips just to kind of wipe off my paintbrush. So that's the effect that I've got so far. Now this right here might look weird, so I might hit that with one of the tones as well. I'll give her some Now this can also mix in with the color that's here and lighten it up, if that's what you need. Now I could easily, instead of using white, I could have easily used blue in this area right here to cover up the brown. It'll be a little bit darker, but we could get away with it. Let's see, this one's not too bad. I don't care that there's a little bit of pink in that. We'll put a little bit of eye shine in the frog too. I probably just can use a dot. And for those of you who are just joining, this is, I'm trying to hold my breath a little bit while I'm doing this. For those of you who are just joining, this is an image that was transferred from the Cricut Infusible ink markers. And I just placed it onto the shirt itself, and then I'm touching it up with fabric markers. And I think it's a big difference. Okay, let's see. So as it dries, you'll start to see what it looks like. I'm going to hit it because of the white paint. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the sound a sec. All right, so I would not move this until I know that everything is dry, because you don't want to have this overlap this and then it like smears or something or hit something else. Let's see. So I could go over and do the outline one more time. I think I'll do one here. Let's see. And let's see, I'm gonna do a little bit of pink on the outside here. I might end up changing it to red, just so that it kind of bounces off of that in her lips. Yeah, so I have a series on my channel called the Dangerous Disney Damsels, where I pretty much take different Disney princesses and just kind of make them a little bit more dangerous. Now I'm going to also hit this with heat, just so that it doesn't feather out too badly. And some colors, when they touch other colors, they're going to change into a different color. It is the nature of the beast. Okay, I'm going to turn it. All right, so this is a good start. I think I'll outline the skull so it stands out a little bit more. Let's see. And again, I'm using the Prismacolor Premiere. You can buy these at Walmart for like 10 bucks, and you get a set of 4. 2 of them I use a lot, which is the really thin one. There's a brush tip one in here too, so if you're into brush tips, definitely. But for outlining, let me bring this close here. I got the board underneath here. Now the board is like the chipboard from like one of my drawing pads, so I just took that off and just have that there. You can use mounting board. You want to use anything that's stiff, that doesn't have like a texture to it. You don't want to use cardboard, because cardboard has the corrugated texture. Unless texture is what you're going for, I don't recommend using cardboard. Mounting board is stiff enough. The chipboard that you get, that comes with your drawing pads, and this skull is like really off, but it is what it is. And everything is pretty much dry. So with it being dry like this, I'm going to go ahead and just go over my outlines one more time. I think that's all I've really got time for. And this is really good for outlining, especially on cotton. And say if you're outlining for when the picture is pretty much done. That way, if you make any mistakes as you're painting or using your fabric marker, you can go over it pretty easy. Around the outside, around the outside, around the outside. Yeah, just gotta bring that in here a little bit. Now, if I wanted to take this and put it onto a different fabric, I could always cut this out and I can Mod Podge it on to a different fabric. You have options. Mod Podge has a fabric. Oh, it looks like it wants to bleed. Okay. Anyway, Mod Podge has a formula for fabrics. So if I wanted to, I could Mod Podge this onto a jacket or something. So like if I have that problem where one or two pictures look good and then some of the others look like crap, I can always transfer it. Now if you get it dark enough, and you know the color is deeper, dark enough so that the white beneath it isn't showing, it'll look like a store-bought shirt. Now this is a decent marker to, they call it markers, I call them pens. This is the fine line marker. There's another that I prefer, but it's obsolete, and I'll show it to you. There are these Pentel gel rollers. Unfortunately, I discovered them way too late in life, and these things are the bomb. Let me see if I can demonstrate it on the frog. Let's see. just going around the outside of what we are. Well, you know what? Let me hit this with some heat so none of this bleeds. Okay, so this is a Pentel gel roller. Downside to this is that once it's dried out and it stops working, it just stops. It doesn't like get lighter. It doesn't kind of like get intermittent. It just stops. And I'm like, damn, it gives no fucks really. Okay. But when it goes on with a vengeance. It goes on black, it goes on dark. I mean, it's the best outliner I have ever seen. And it's clean. The lines are clean. And clean lines are hard to get with fabric, because you can see with it the way it is, you can see all the little striations. That's the fabric itself. You probably see it even more so now that it's close. All right here, that's texture. This thing overcomes the texture. It just throws itself in there and goes BAM! If this thing topped. But when it says, I can't go on, it's done, yo. This thing is done. So if you are serious about some really crisp outlines, this is the beast for you. Get them while you can before they are completely gone forever. Because Pentel ain't making them no more. And I can't guarantee if any of their other markers would be as awesome. They have no replacement for this. Let's see. I don't want to waste it, but yeah, if I come around the outside here where it's kind of fuzzy, it's a damn good pen. Damn good pen. Okay, close it up. And I'm going to hit this with some heat. All right, so there we go so far. I think if anything, I'd probably want to come back over here with the pink again and see if I can kind of work it in a little bit, just so it's more of a solid tone, but it kind of looks like a texture, so I might just leave it alone anyway. Maybe throw a little bit of pink on here before I move down here. Let me go ahead and hit this skull here. I need a blue. Instead of using blue, I'll just go ahead and use a little bit of this purple here. Just let's see. Okay. See, I'm not going to outline all of her lips, just this part here. Now the shirt is pretty badass. If you can overcome the bleeding. I like how the colors are looking on here. And a little bit of brown and just kind of, it's a little too dark. Let's see. Where were you? You're the flesh tone. Okay, one of the things I often do is when I do skin, I usually do them both at the same time. But you know what? We can leave this as an example of what it looks like with the parchment paper, how pale it is, you know, versus, and I should have did like a little line down the center. This side looks like blah blah blah, and this one looks like the fabric markers. Too little, too late. But anyway, this is right here how it transferred, and then this is all fabric marker. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. And if you have any questions, or oh, you know what? Let me fix her bang here. Put that back on. Yeah, if you have any questions, or if you like what you see, please drop me a like. If you'd like to see more, if you have any, you know, I can answer your questions with a video. Okay. If you'd like to see maybe a superhero or anything else put onto a shirt, let me know. And if you like it, I'll sell it to you. If it turns out okay. Otherwise, I just sleep in my mistakes. Sleep in my mistakes. I'm just crisping up the lines here. Now tomorrow I can color in a different one so we can see what some of the others would look like with different tones. Like, so this is like purple and red and green, maybe a little bit of yellow, and then we can see what it looks like with something else. Let's see, I want to hit those eye sockets. Just what do I want to hit it with? Oh, this one right here is a tulip fine marker. This is the fine tip of that. So it's good to have different sets. If you can have a big, fat one, tiny little ones, just good to have a variety. I'm going to hit it with some heat so it doesn't bleed out of this. Alrighty, you guys. Again, thank you so much for joining me. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe. I'm going to take it off of here so you can see it in its natural habitat. And again, I used an embroidery hoop. These guys are not expensive. This one is $3, if even, $2.49, something like that. So this is fabric marker. And now it's going to be coming back into its normal shape. So here is fabric marker, and here is the infusible inks. And I love touching this stuff up. This has a bit of the fabric marker on there, and I was just testing to see what color the skin should be on that one. This is fabric marker, all these colors here. The outlines themselves are the infusible ink. So the infusible ink is a really good coloring book type of thing, I guess. It gives you really good outlines, I think, if you do it the right way. Another one, this one was done with cardstock. So this would make a really good coloring. This one has the infusible ink base and fabric markers. And same image colored with infusibles. Because I did not leave it on for the full 80 seconds, it came out a lot lighter, but using the same artwork, that's what I've got here. The same arsenal of colors. The skin was like this color mixed in with another one, and you can see the difference. Why would you want to leave it like this if you can make it a lot more vibrant like this? It bleeds like a bad dog, so you got to be very careful. It's like bleeding all around the outside there, but that's something that you can also put another color around the outside. Okay, you guys, thank you again. Let's see. Reusing previously used paper, like say you've got an image and you want to use it again but not put the stuff on it. This is what it looks like when you just do it like right after. So you might get one more use out of it, but it's super washed out. Let's see, what else can I show you guys? That's pretty much it that's on that shirt. So again, thank you guys again for watching. The infusibles worked well with transferring and being covered over with fabric marker and paint. And again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. If you'd like to see a particular character, one of your favorites, drawn out by me, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. Chances are we both like the same characters. Alright? And then once this dries, settles, and whatnot, you're not going to really feel it. If anything, you might feel the fabric paint a bit, but this will all soften up and it's just going to be like a regular print. Okay? You guys have a great one. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, Tatted Hearts, you came at the very end, darling. Doing good, doing good. Just about to sign off. I'm just letting this play out a little bit. And I hope you're doing super well. Yeah, I just came on here. I've been on here for what, 2 hours, but just playing with the Infusible and whatnot. Bam, looks good. Alrighty, guys, take care. Bye bye. Oh, probably about 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. That's basically the only time I can hop on. I'm in the midst of working on Christmas gifts. So the next one I'm going to probably do is what's it called? I'm doing coasters. I want to do these coasters. My friends that like to game, so I'm doing like little coasters of that. And then there's one that's not going to be a game coaster. My son told me his girlfriend liked dream catchers and wolves. So either I'm going to take an anime character like Legoshi, I forget how they pronounce him, and put him with the dream catcher. I think it's from Beastars, the wolf from Beastars. But I don't know if she's a Beastar fan, so I don't know. I might just do a generic wolf and a picture of something with her. Yeah, green and fuzzy. I don't know. You know, I could do a stud Grinch. That'd be funny. Or the Grinch, what was his name? The Hulk as the Grinch. That'd be tight. Alright, you guys, I will see you in the next video. Tatted Hearts, always a pleasure. And take care, you guys. Bye-bye.